How to find the perfect house in Flower Mound, Texas. That's the exact thing that we're going to do today. We're going to look at Flower Mound, where it's located. We're going to look at the community. We're going to look at the cost, aka the budget of real estate, and really going to take some different factors into consideration as we're looking for that perfect house. So the way that we structure this particular series is pretty unique, where I'm going to essentially be in your shoes, where we're going to look at the at Flower Mound itself. We're going to really go deep on analyze a specific property that we're going to mock up some numbers to. So we're going to look at the property, look at the images, or look at the pictures, and point out a few things that you might not consider as you're touring homes. So it has been really helpful for our clients learning and seeing how to actually inspect properties, or really more pay attention to some things that oftentimes we don't pay attention to. We're going to go into all the details of a particular listing, and we're going to show how to purchase that property with 3 different financing options. So that is what's on our roadmap today. As you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, because it is time to get started. So just like any good home search, you're going to start with the visuals. You're going to start by going to the online searches and look at some properties. So this is no different. We're going to go into the Flower Mound area and see what homes are available for sale right now. Now, this website that I'm using is directly tied into the MLS. So make sure that you go and check out Jaime Resendiz.exprealty.com. You're going to see this exact website, and taps you right into the MLS to see which homes are actually available for sale and which ones are not. All right, so there's about 304,000 properties. Wow, 304 properties available for sale right now in Flower Mound, and the average price point is $1.19 million. That is a high number. Now, this includes every type of property in Flower Mound. So we're going to take out the condos, multifamily, commercial, and the rest of the search, or the rest of the type of property, and we're going to leave single family only, and we're going to start our search. So whenever you're looking to move to an area, specifically if you've never been there before, you're really looking for 3 main questions that you need to answer for yourself. Number 1, the commute. Number 2 is the community. And number 3 is the cost. So number 1, when it comes to the commute, oftentimes whenever you're looking for an area, you're most likely going to factor in the commute that you're going to have for work, or wherever it is that you end up doing life, right? So if you have to be in the office 5 days out of the week, then you're probably gonna need a place that's close to where you work, if it meets the other 2 criteria that we ask our clients to consider. So again, the commute. Now, when it comes to Flower Mound has one of the Flower Mound is really more for the northern part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and one of the reasons I say that is because it doesn't truly have direct access to major highways. Now, this one does you end up touching 35 West, but there's not a ton of homes out in this area. The bulk of your and you can even see it with this search right here, the bulk of your properties are going to be right here in the central part, and you do need to go through a few intersections to get into the I-30s of the world. I-35s of the world, the 121s of the world. So there is a bit of navigating through residential areas to get to where you're going. So commute, here you're looking more for working close or nearby, or working from home typically, or retiring, or you've retired. Flower Mound is what I call a destination city, where people work their entire lives to try to get into a Flower Mound type of city. So again, I call it a destination city because you aspire and you wish that your destination was in that type of city, similar to the Westlakes of the world, South Lakes of the world, Colleyvilles of the world. That's what I mean when I'm talking about Flower Mound. So whenever you are in the area and you say that you're from Flower Mound, well, that carries a little bit of weight, similar to the Coppells of the world. So just some insider baseball there. Commute, again, super important. Second thing that you're going to want to consider whenever you're looking at areas, what type of community do you want? Do you want the lake lifestyle community? Well, here you have a ton of it, and you're right next to Grapevine Lake, along with another option of Louisville Lake, which are both going to be very enjoyable. I've been fortunate enough to spend some many weekends on both of these lakes, which has been fun. With that being said, again, the community aspect, what type of lifestyle are you looking for? Are you looking to go to a different restaurant every single night? If that's you, well, Flower Mound is a really good spot. They have some really good restaurants that people will come into the area specifically to enjoy, right? So again, that's super important. The ISD, if the school district, is that a big deal to you? In many cases it is. Even if you don't have kids, it's very important for you, given the fact that when you're trying to sell this property, it really makes your property a little bit more desirable. So again, Flower Mound is just a phenomenal city through and through. So again, community is something to really take note on. Now, the thing that I don't want to say holds Flower Mound back, but it keeps a lot of people that would love to live here is the cost. So the third thing is the cost, the budget. What type of budget are you working for? You saw there, it's over $1 million for the average property here. You're going to see the type of real estate that you have available as we go through and actually look at a property that we're going to run some numbers with. But it does give you it is something that you'll want to consider if it's even affordable, if it's even possible to purchase. All right, so let's get going. So again, the 3 C's that you want to answer for yourself: number 1, the commute; number 2, the community; and then number 3, the cost. With that being said, let's look at the properties that are available for sale right now in the city of Flower Mound. And again, we're going to go into a deep dive on one of these properties. It's going to be a mid price property in Flower Mound, and we're going to run some numbers. We're going to run through 3 different loan options to purchase this property as we go through. So as you can see, the least expensive homes right now are actually in what appears to be a trailer park. So you have some, this might even be the same one. They might be neighbors. So the least expensive property right now is $150K in here's, I know it says Argyle, but you're gonna find a lot of addresses depending on where you go, whether it's Google Maps, Apple Maps, or whatever map this particular IDX is connected to. You're going to find it say Argyle. Sometimes you're going to see it Flower Mound. Sometimes they're in some areas when you're going on the west side of town, which is Argyle's over here, they do it interchangeably. So just as a heads up, I know it says Argyle, but we're still in Flower Mound territory. All right, so we are not going to count those as viable options for us if we're looking for Flower Mound. We're going to look more for truly the least expensive homes available for sale right now based off of the criteria that we have of single family residences are 300, around the 310, 320, 336. So you have in the $300,000 range, so from 300 to 400,000, you're going to have about 15 homes, give or take. So you have some options, not the most amount of options, but if your budget is max $400,000, you still have an opportunity with limited choices, but you still have an opportunity to purchase homes here in Flower Mound. So oftentimes whenever you're purchasing in this price point, specifically here in Flower Mound, you are looking at homes that might need a little bit more updating, might need a little bit more care before you can truly call it your home. Now, don't mishear me. These are absolutely livable. I'm not trying to throw too much shade, but they do require a little bit of lifting, a little bit of a facelift before you can truly call it your home. Now, when it comes to the 400 to 500 mark, this is where you're going to see a good amount of options. So whenever we're working with clients that are looking for the Flower Mound area, we do ask that they consider other areas. If they don't have if their max budget is 400,000, then the options are a little bit limited. Now, if the clients that we're working with have up to 500,000, then a ton more opportunities open up because there's a ton of inventory between 400 and 500,000 right now in Flower Mound. Now, we're not going to go through all of the properties here in Flower Mound today, but what we are going to do is we're going to dream for a quick second. We're going to go over to the luxury space before we actually do the breakdown of a property that we're going to run some numbers on. So let's dream for a quick second. And of the 192 properties on Flower Mound right now, we're going to go straight to the most expensive ones and see what luxury looks like in Flower Mound, Texas. So here we're on the last page. You see there's plenty of properties above $2 million. This gives you an idea of the type of real estate that's available in Flower Mound right now. There's some cities here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex that don't even have one property in the 2 millions mark. Flower Mound has a ton. Flower Mound should have about 20 or so properties above $2 million. Now, the most expensive home for sale right now in Flower Mound is, actually I know this one, a $24 million property. So we're going to take one brief peek. Again, we're dreaming for a quick second. We're going to go into a little bit, we're going to motivate ourselves and see what's available for sale in the Flower Mound area. Now, a big part of the value of this home is going to come in the amount of land that we're talking about. We're looking at 13 acres in Flower Mound. Just does not exist outside of this property, basically. $24 million. We have 5 bedrooms, 3 full baths, and 3 half baths, square footage of 4,600 square feet. So we're going to scroll through here. Again, we're not going to do the breakdown on this one. We're not going to run the numbers on this particular one, but we're just going to see what's available for this amount of money in Flower Mound. Looks very modern. Interesting. Is that like an Alamo replica? What's that? Horse property for sure. Interesting property. Cool. Awesome. We're not going to do the breakdown on that one. We're just dreaming for a quick second. What we are going to do, though, is get to work right now. We're going to go into the mid price point here for Flower Mound, and we're going to be probably in the $800,000 mark, right? Give or take. Let's see. Let's find a property that we want to run some numbers with. Hopefully I do like this one. You know, when it comes to white brick, it's just such a good look. I am going to go with, this looks like a Perry home. This is probably the Perry builder. I like Perry homes, so let's go with Perry. We're gonna buy this house, 3,000 square feet, 4 beds, 3.5 baths, $862,500. So let's see what $862,000 gets us in Flower Mound today. All right, so just like most home searches that we go on, we first start off with the pictures. So we're going to go through and look at some of these pictures to point out a few things that you might want to consider before ultimately committing to go and see this home and then ultimately purchase. So let's see what we got here. Now, before we get into the explanation or critiquing, as some people will call it, I want to give 2 quick disclaimers. When I'm providing commentary for the pictures, for the description, for the details in the home, I'm not trying to throw shade at the listing agent, and certainly not trying to offend the homeowners in any way, shape, or form. I'm giving my perspective. Sometimes it might come across a little bit more critical than others. Sometimes it might feel like I'm pointing out just some minor details that may or may not be relevant. But essentially what I'm getting at is the small things can say a lot about the big things, can really highlight the big things. So as an example, a super basic example, if you go up to a property and you see that the landscaping is pretty not well maintained, well, that might give you some at least some additional context and additional clues as to how the rest of the property was maintained or not maintained. Now, I know there's some assumptions baked in there. I know that there's some additional it's not always going to be the case. However, oftentimes it is. So again, the minor things really say a lot can say a lot about the bigger things. So that's why I point out these things that I do. And the other reason that I'm sometimes a bit more critical than others is because whenever you're looking for a property, when you go and look at the property itself, oftentimes you're spending 30 to 45 minutes on site itself, so in the property. And within those 30 to 45 minutes, you're expected, especially in a hot real estate market, you're expected to have made up your mind where then you're making almost a $900,000 decision on if you're going to put in an offer, right? Sure, there's second showings and things of that nature that does happen, but again, in a really intense real estate market, you're not going to have that much time on site. So that's why, again, I call a few things out that from experience have been very valuable for our clients. So that's where, that's where I'm coming from with my commentary. With that being said, let's get going. Again, I'm a really big fan of this type of break. It's my next home is going to have this type of break. I can already guarantee you that. But let's continue. So from a landscaping perspective, there is some landscaping. There is seasonal landscaping, so it's not just the normal shrubs. So I do like the fact that they're maintaining it well. You have the lawn being well maintained. You have some edging. Granted, I understand that it might not be the owner. They might be paying somebody, but at the end of the day, it looks pretty darn good. So I see plantation shutters out here. I see some gutters already in place. It looks like we might have some on the side of the house, which is good based off of what I'm seeing from the neighbors. So these are important things to make note on. Let's continue. All right, so let's check out some details real quick. 2020 build, so a 4-year-old property, 4 beds, 3.5 bath, 3,000 square feet on almost a fourth of an acre. Good sized lot. All right, so we have the entrance. We have hardwood floors. You have a high elevated ceiling with a little chandelier. That's cool. So you can see the backyard from the front. There's going to be plenty of lighting in this area, in this home. Now this is neat. I don't know where this is located, but it's so as we enter the property, so it's over here. So we're walking a little bit. So this is over here. Okay, so this is a nice sitting area. Very cool. Very cool. Now this could very easily become a office or an entertainment. Well, this is being used as an entertainment room. Great use of that room. Now you have your living room, your dining, and your kitchen. You could not ask for a more open space. You could not ask for a more open layout. This is perfect for entertaining. If that is you, this is a phenomenal spot. You have a huge island. You have a very, very generously sized range there. Double ovens. So again, this property is 4 years old. This is an entertainment paradise right here. I do like the stonework on the fireplace. Plantation shutters, as we talked about earlier. Now these are not plantation shutters, actually. These are not. Plantation shutters were in the front, not the back. Unless I just completely misread it from the front, which is possible. I do like the colors. They're nice and subtle. Not too over the top, but they do stand out. You have your primary bedroom. Very, very, very large primary bedroom. Now that is a plantation shutter. Yeah, so there's some windows that have plantation shutters. There's others that don't. Primary bath. So you have your tub here and you have your shower on the other side. You have one bedroom, or your second bedroom. You have a full bath here. Now notice that the ceilings are fairly high, and it's almost like you don't see the block or the square type of ceiling, and that's mostly because of the builder. Again, I believe that this is probably a Perry home, and so you have those aggressive lines up here. So those have to be reflected somewhere. and that's where you're seeing the ceiling reflect that. So you have higher roofs, and then they pitch. So you see that actually through the design of the rooms. Another very, very good looking home. huge laundry room. Then you have your backyard. Remember, this is on a fourth of an acre. It's incredible stonework down here. Place for your fire pit. And I'm going to guess that there's a gas. This is probably connected to the gas, so you're going to be in a good spot there. And really good landscaping. All right, so you're right next to the school. Good area. And as you can see here, you have a little walking trail that you'd have access to. I like this home, and your neighbors with somebody that has a pool. And your neighbors back here are going to get a pool soon. So you're going to be in a good spot. Cool. All right, so let's buy this house. Let's check this house out. Oh, man, this is so cool. This is so cool. Check out all that space. You don't even need a dining room. This is it. Oh, that's so cool. All right, so let's check out the property description, look at some details, and then get into the financing options available for this property. Welcome to the stunning open concept, for sure. Open concept single-story luxury home in the sought-after neighborhood of Canyon Falls Village. Canyon Falls is one of the, oh my gosh, it's a premier area in all of DFW, in my opinion, and Flower Mound, of course. So, featuring 4 bedrooms and 3.5 baths, this meticulously designed estate offers a perfect blend of elegance and comfort. The seamless flow between living spaces makes it ideal for entertainment. Custom upgrades adorn every corner, for the gourmet kitchen with top-tier appliances, the state-of-the-art media room. Relax in your living room with the floor-to-ceiling stone fireplace as the focal point. The chef's kitchen boasts an abundance of cabinets and drawers. The spacious owner's retreat boasts a large walk-in closet, a spa-like bath providing serene escape. The upgraded laundry room features custom cabinets and custom counters for added convenience. Step outside to your private backyard sanctuary with the spacious patio and oversized garage completes this home, offering ample storage and convenience. Discover unparalleled luxury in this exceptional residence. This is fact. All right, so let's look at some details, and we're going to start breaking down the numbers so we see what the mortgage payment is, what the property taxes are, and all that fun stuff. We're in Denton County, given that we're in Flower Mound, and you should have every part of Denton. Every part of Flower Mound is in Denton, so you're in a good spot. It was built in 2020, so we have 4 years, which means that your appliances are basically in top shape right now. Your HVAC unit, your water heater, you're in prime time. You're in the prime time. It's almost going to be new. Taxes, don't get married to this amount of taxes. Unfortunately, you're probably going to be paying more. These taxes that are being reflected right now are what the homeowners are paying at the moment. So based off of the exemptions that they currently have, and then also based off of what the assessed value happens to be right now. And that's how they come up with the property taxes. We're going to calculate our property taxes using the exact property tax rate, but then we're also going to be baking in a little bit of comfort between what we're actually going to be paying. In other words, I'm going to give you the conservative number that you can budget, as opposed to getting a number that's not going to reflect your budget or what you're actually going to be paying. And oftentimes, if we use this number, you're going to be under budgeting, and I don't want you to be in that situation. I would much rather give you a more realistic number and be surprised when the number is lower than for you to think that this number is real and applicable to you, and only to find out that your true number is going to be thousands of dollars more. So we'll take note of that here shortly. The price is $86.25, so $862,500. We'll look at that. Bedrooms 4. Full baths 3, half bath 1. So 4 beds, 3.5 baths, 3,000 square feet on a fourth of an acre. Cool. And so utilities should be normal. Just, you have access to cable, internet, city sewer, all that stuff. Possession, closing, and funding. So once they sell, they're going to give you the property. Association fee $693. This is about right. The HOA fees, I don't necessarily know what would be included. Yeah, management fees. Okay, so since they're not going to really offer you too much from an HOA perspective, this is going to be right. So if this number was like $200, then it most likely means that they are charging you 4 times a year at $200 a pop. So this one, I do see this HOA fee being reasonable, at least for what the value that you're getting, aka just paying those fees, being $700 a year. Number of garage spaces, 3, which I didn't see that in the tour, but they might have the extended garage going in. So then it would be three spaces. So yeah, the extended garage. Argyle ISD. Okay, we're gonna need to factor that in. So this is not Flower Mound ISD, by the way. So we'll look at that when it comes to property taxes. And what else? Anything else? Okay, so I was mistaken. I'm sorry. This is now, I think that they're overcharging you for HOA fees. HOA, again, I'm not trying to be critical of anybody here, but I'm just giving you kind of the assessment here. This is a little bit iffy for me, like $700. It's like, okay, well, if we're just talking management fees, I could see that passing for a property of this size, but I was between yearly and semi-annually, so basically they would charge you $693 twice, but for it to be a quarterly fee, I don't know about that. So I almost want to say that they're wrong. And the unfortunate part here is, like, when you call the associations, especially the major associations like CERA or whatever, which is the primary one here in the Dallas-Fort Worth, that owns so many different HOAs or manages so many different HOAs, they don't flat out tell you how much you're paying in HOA fees. If you're even if you're a prospective future tenant there, you would have to request it via you have to go into the portal and all that stuff. Anyway, with that being said, we're gonna go based off of what we see. So we're gonna do a $693 times 4 and get the HOA amount. So we'll do that when the time comes. So with that being said, let's get into this. Let's start looking at these numbers real quick. So check out this Loan Clarity Advisor linked down below. This is the tool that we're going to use for our calculation today. And this is the same tool that we use here internally with our clients. So this tool was created by Win the House You Love, which is a fantastic YouTube channel that you should check out. Now, if you do not see the link for this Loan Clarity Advisor tool, go to winthehouseyoulove.com and get the tool there. This is the exact same link that we use with our clients, so you don't want to miss it. All right, so let's do this. We're going to do exact amounts, and we're going to put the purchase price of this amount. All right, so we're paying $862,500. Oh, that happens quite a bit whenever I copy and paste. It keeps the same formatting and it throws everything off. Okay, now it works. Let's talk about HOA fees first, and then we're gonna come back to property taxes. All right, so we saw here that the HOA was $693, and we saw that it's a quarterly expense for us. So what we're gonna do is $693 times 4. That means $27.72 in HOA fees. Now, hopefully, I am not correct with that, because that just seems a little bit high even for what this would be, but we're going to go based off of what is in front of us today. We're not going to second guess it. So we're going to divide that by 12, or we're going to try divide that by 12. So in HOA fees, we're looking at $231 per month. Now, this is something you're not going to be paying monthly. This is something you're going to be paying quarterly. So you're going to have that you're going to have this be an invoice. You're not going to be paying it in your mortgage payment. So just as a heads up, the HOA gets paid differently. The Homeowners insurance, now your monthly homeowners insurance, now that will be paid in your monthly mortgage payment oftentimes. So what you're going to do is you're just going to use a simple little number of multiplying the value of the home times 0.75%. So 0.75%, so less than 1%. That's going to give us the yearly homeowners insurance premium, or a ballpark, an estimate, a reasonable estimate of what you can expect to pay when it comes to homeowners insurance. So we're going to do 862,500 times 0.0075, since it's less than 0.75%. So multiply times that. That's going to give us the yearly monthly premium of $64.68. So we're going to divide that by 12 to give us an estimated $539 in monthly premiums. $539 is what we can estimate our homeowners insurance monthly premium to be. Monthly taxes. So this is where we start looking into some additional information. So what is the property taxes that we're going to be paying? Now remember, we looked at a number. That's not your number, but we looked at a number of how much was being paid in property taxes right now, which was just shy of $14,000. As a reminder, that is what the homeowner is paying, but that's based off of their exemptions and the assessed value that happens to be associated to that property at the moment. When you buy it, chances are that the assessed value of the home is going to rise, and also chances are that you're going to have different exemptions applicable to you. So we really can't take this as, hey, this is the number that we're going to pay, because it's not. Now, in order for us to find what the number is going to be for us, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Flower Mound. We're going to go with Flower Mound, Texas property tax rate. And we're going to find out exactly what our property tax rate is. So we're going to go straight to the website to see if they give us that information. And I can already see that they do not. So we're going to back up for a quick second and go and find that property tax information elsewhere. Let's see if this one does anything. And they do not. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up again. Well, yeah, we're going to back up again. And we are going to go directly to the county. All right, so they have their calculator here. I'm not the biggest fan of this calculator, truth be told, but it's what we have, so that's what we're going to use. Actually, you know what? Let me see. Give me a second. Let's see if I can get even more precise with you. Let me go over to the CAD real quick and see if we can find this. I'm going to go over here to the CAD. And I'm going to see what the actual rate is. So here we go. Now I have to be very careful. I certainly don't want to dox anybody, and that is good. All right, so check this out. Let's talk about property taxes. When we're looking at property taxes, there's several things to make note. Well, number one, the most obvious one is that when you buy a house, you're paying property taxes. So the moment that you own that house, you're paying property taxes. That's number one. You're paying property taxes when you buy a house. Second thing is, in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, the range in property taxes is about 1.8 to about 3%. So 1.8 to about 3% in property taxes every single year. So that might sound high, because it is. That is, Texas has the 6th highest property tax rate in the country, with New Jersey being number 1. So again, in Dallas-Fort Worth, your ballpark is about 1.8% to about 3% in property taxes. Now, the third thing to understand is that in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, there's up to 5 numbers that you need to find in order to get your true property tax rate. So up to 5 numbers that you would need to find in order to find your true property tax rate. First one's going to be the city tax rate. Second's going to be the county tax rate. The third's going to be the ISD. Those 3 numbers for sure, you're going to find them in every city in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. You have to find them. City, county, ISD. The next 2, the potential 2 additional ones that you might see depending on the city that you're in is our higher education tax, which think of community college, or the hospital network tax. So if you're in Fort Worth as an example, JPS Health Network. If you're in Dallas, Parkland. So it's up to 5 numbers. Now, with that being said, with that backdrop in place, now we can see what this property directly on the county appraisal district reflects. We're going to see what that looks like. So we have the city tax rate right here at the very top. We have the county tax rate down here, and then we have the ISD tax rate. So we have 3 tax rates. This one, don't pay attention to that. So you have 3 tax rates: the city, the county, and the ISD. You do not have the additional hospital network nor the higher education tax, which means less taxes for you. Your tax rate on this property would be 1.7889%. So if you round up, 1.79%, which is on the lowest possible spectrum that you could possibly be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So Flower Mound does have some of the lowest property taxes in the entire DFW Metroplex. Now, that's one thing that we needed to get clear. So that's the number that we need. Now, note something else though. This home's being sold for whatever it's being sold for, $862. Notice the big difference of what the taxable value is, which is the assessed value. And even the market, don't pay attention to the market value. This is going to be wrong always. But the taxable value, this is the assessed value. This is what you are paying your property taxes against. So they're multiplying this times that, this times that, this times that. But we're just going to shortcut it, and we're going to multiply all of this times not the assessed value, because this is going to change the moment this changes hands. And also, this has already included some additional exemptions, as you can see here. Well, it hasn't actually. They haven't applied any exemptions. So it's other properties, maybe not this one, have included home exemptions or tax exemptions that reduce the assessed value of the home. So the fact that this is radically under this does not surprise me, but 2 is very favorable in our eyes, because when we buy this property, this most likely will go up, not to this amount, but it will go up. I can guarantee you that. With that being said, what we're going to do now is we're going to multiply this rate times this number. We're going to multiply times the market value. Why? Well, because I want to give us a very safe cushion, a conservative number that we're going to work with, knowing that we're not going to have access to that same property tax bill that the present owner has. So we're overestimating how much we're going to pay in property taxes strategically, so we can be pleasantly surprised when we don't pay this much here very soon once we purchase that property. What is our property tax rate? 1.79. So it's 0.0179. That gives us a tax bill of $15,438. We're going to divide that by 12, and we're going to say that our property taxes per month are going to be roughly $1286. Now again, this is based off of the market value. You're going to be taxed against the assessed value, which oftentimes is going to be lower. You just saw that this particular property owner is being assessed $100,000 less, so they're paying substantially less than what the actual market value is. All right, so now that we have these numbers in place, now we can continue moving forward. Now you have for you, it's going to be so much easier. All you have to do is just input these numbers. Now that you know what the property tax rate, that's what would take us the longest to break down. But now that you have that number of 1.7889, you're in a good spot. You don't need to spend too much time with it. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to give ourselves 5 different ways to buy this property. We're going to use a conventional 5%, then we're going to do a FHA 5% down, and then a conventional 20% down. So we're using ourselves 3 different ways to finance this property. Now let's start from the beginning, and I'll make it worth it, I promise. When you buy a property, oftentimes you're going to need to get a loan in order to afford to buy this property. When you get a loan, that's called a mortgage for a property. So there are different types of mortgages. There's different types of loans out there. You can do a conventional loan, FHA loan, portfolio loan, jumbo loan, VA, USDA. There's so many different types of loans, but two primary types of loans that come up oftentimes is the conventional loan and the FHA loan. Those are the two most common types of loans that you're going to have access to. Now, each one of those has different requirements and if you qualify, so we're not going to get into that per se, but we are going to go into some major differences. With a conventional loan, the minimum down payment that you would need to buy a house or to get into this loan is going to be 3%. So again, this is a conventional loan. If you do a conventional, it's going to be, the minimum down is 3%. If you get an FHA loan, the minimum down payment is going to be 3.5%. That is on the FHA side. So that's one difference, the minimum down payment. Another big difference is if you put less than 20% down on either one of these loan products, conventional or FHA, if you put less than 20% down with either one of these products, you're paying what's called mortgage insurance. Now, mortgage insurance is something that the lender puts on you in the event that you default. So if you default, the lender takes the property back, which they're going to do anyway, regardless if they had a mortgage insurance on you or not. But they're also going to be essentially hedging their loss through that insurance of that mortgage insurance. So you're going to be paying additional for that mortgage insurance, given that the lender still sees you a little bit as a higher risk because you didn't put as much money down to purchase this property. So that's where they put the 20% down. If you do 20% down and more, then you don't pay mortgage insurance. But if you put less than 20% down, then you're paying mortgage insurance. I'm almost there. One more point before we continue moving forward. So, but this is very important that we understand the differences because it's it's going to cost you thousands of dollars if we get this wrong. Now, with that being said, this mortgage insurance is problematic for a lot of people. It's problematic for me. I don't enjoy paying anything more than I need to, right? So I'm not judging anybody, but it's something that, why, right? So here's the big distinction between a conventional and FHA. With a conventional loan, if you put less than 20% down, you're paying that mortgage insurance. That's already a given. But at some point, whenever you surpass 20% ownership in that home, meaning as you're making payments in about 10 years on paper, you will own over 20% of that home. At that point, the mortgage insurance falls away on the conventional loan. In other words, with your conventional loan, mortgage insurance eventually goes away. With an FHA loan, the mortgage insurance never goes away. Unless you sell that property, you pay off the FHA loan all the way and or refinance out of that FHA loan. So again, mortgage insurance with conventional, you can get rid of it eventually with time. FHA does not go away. It's for the life of the loan. And you can see how much that actually costs you over the life of the loan as we get moving forward. I know it's a mouthful, but I did my absolute best to get us from having no earthly idea what the heck that is to having a fairly decent grasp of what it ultimately means. I could not make that the explanation any shorter. So my apologies. Let's keep going. So we're going to do 5% conventional, 5% FHA, and 20% conventional. Length of our loans is going to be 30 years apiece. Interest rate. So whenever you take out a loan, whenever you take out a mortgage, you're taking out a chunk of an amount, whatever it happens to be, whatever the value of the home or how much you're offering for that home minus the down payment. That's going to be essentially your loan amount. That's going to be what's called your principal. So that's how much you borrowed. Well, there is an expense for that. There's a charge for that. There's a fee for that. And that's called your interest rate. So that's how much it costs you to borrow that money. With that being said, this interest rate, this mortgage interest rate varies by the hour. So every hour there's going to be something different. And so when you're watching this video a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, whenever, that number for you is going to be different. However, we do need a good starting point. So the best way to do this when you are going through this particular breakdown as well, remember this calculator, this tool is linked down below, so make sure you check it out, is to go back to our Google and go to what is the interest rate right now for buying a house or some variation of that. Just Google that and then go to bank rate At the very top, you're going to see at the time of this recording, the 30-year fixed rate is 6.48. So 6.48. 6.48. Now we're going to use this interest rate across the board, knowing full well that this rate is going to vary depending on the type of loan, how much you put down. But for our purposes today, we're just going to keep these the same. All right, so that's our interest rate. Let's continue. Points. You have the ability of buying down this interest rate. So let's just say you go and pull, the lender pulls your credit and they say, based off of whatever you've given us, your interest rate is going to be 6.48%. Well, you have the option of buying down this interest rate, which is another way of saying you have the option of prepaying your interest. At least that's how I see it. But anyway, you have the option of lowering your interest rate. So that's by buying points. Now, you can buy as many points as you would like, basically. Not really, but you could. It's just going to get extremely expensive. But oftentimes, our clients end up buying 1 to 2 points, especially in an environment when there might be higher interest rates. Now, the cost of 1 point is pretty simple to calculate. All you have to do is however much you borrow. Let's just say you borrowed $850,000. Then you would just multiply 1% times that. So 850,000 is gonna 1% of that would be $8,500. That's how much it cost you to buy 1 point. 1% of the loan value. Let's continue. Now, does this mean that if I buy 1 point that this interest rate goes from 6.48 to 5.48 by a full percentage point? Absolutely not. That's not what that means. I wish it did. But what it does mean is that you're going to shave off some of the interest rate. I typically just calculate about 0.25%, so about a fourth of a percentage point when I buy an actual point. So here, if I get quoted at 6.48%, I can expect this interest rate, if I buy just 1 point, I can expect it to go down by, I don't know, by 0.25, and it'll end up being about 6.25% roughly is what my new interest rate is. Right now, there's some situations where points make sense, some situations where they don't, but that's the explanation on points. Lender fees vary across the board. Lender fees are going to cost you 1 to 2% depending on the lender, depending on a few other things, but primarily the lender. So what I encourage you to do is to shop around. I encourage you to check out these guys, Allied First Bank. I encourage you to check out your local mortgage provider or your preferred provider. So we have our preferred provider that just absolutely crushes it across the board in the value of the service, and like we get 5-star reviews with our preferred lender all the time. So shop them, and their contact information is down below as well. Anyway, with that being said, I encourage you to shop around and then put their fees here so you're comparing apples to apples. We talked about mortgage insurance already, which mortgage insurance is something. Sorry, I just got a message that I have to approve a login for my team. All right. Okay. Mortgage insurance. This is something that we discussed this earlier. Given that we didn't put 20% down on the purchase of this home, we're paying mortgage insurance. And we discussed the difference of conventional. Eventually, you get rid of mortgage insurance with FHA. You're married. Stay married for those 30 years because you're not going to get rid of that mortgage insurance. All right, we'll continue. You're going to see the breakdown here shortly, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. Extra payments. You can make extra payments. Like you can pay off your mortgage like tomorrow if you have that capital, of course. Extra payments. You can choose to do extra payments by the month or a lump sum. We're not going to do that simulation today, but it's something for you to look at so you don't have to do the calculation on your own. If you are planning to do extra payments every single month, then input that here and see how much faster you pay it off, but also very important, how much more money you save versus how much you put in. You're going to find it's going to be astounding. All right, so with that being said, lowest cost loan after 10 years. So we're going to go down here to show you the differences between the loan cost. So how much the financing of this property or this mortgage cost you. So if you go 20% down, your cost for 10 years of this loan is $450,000. You see how much of that went into the interest. Oh, this is not right. Give me a second. All right, so you saw there. Whenever you're talking about FHA, USDA, you're paying some additional fees that aren't really applicable with conventional. So now we're good. All right, so with the conventional 20% down, you're paying $416,000. That made a huge difference into the interest. So that's how much it cost you. With an FHA, since we didn't put 20% down, we're paying that finance mortgage insurance, which is 1.725% of the loan value, and the monthly mortgage insurance. So the mortgage insurance that we were talking about, since we didn't put 20% down, we're paying for that now. On top of all the interest that we've been paying on the additional principal. So that's why these numbers look radically higher, because they are radically higher than your conventional 20%. Because from the 20%, you didn't borrow as much, and also you don't have these additional fees. Same thing with the conventional. With the conventional 5% down, even that would cost you $124,000 more if you would have put 5% down as opposed to 20. Now here's the rub, and I'm not gonna lose the plot here. I recognize that if we had the option of doing 20% down versus 5% down, if we had that ability, yeah, we would make that decision, right? Unless we had another place to park this $135,000, then sure, go park those somewhere else. But I also recognize that coming up with $172,000 is not that easy to do. It's a lot of money. But the reason I highlight that is, one, I do have empathy in the fact that if we can't do 20% down, then we can't do 20% down. Don't keep yourself from owning a home because of that, or because you absolutely hate paying mortgage insurance. I've had clients that will absolutely not move forward until they have 20% down. They might not be in this price range, but until they have 20% down, simply because of the mortgage insurance, just from the principal, not even the expense, is just too much for them. And everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their own, opinion of that. But in my opinion, for the amount that you're paying in monthly mortgage insurance, I would hate for that to keep you from being a homeowner. If that's the only thing, there's situations where you're better off renting or leasing or something else, getting roommates. But if the only thing that's keeping you from owning a home is this monthly mortgage insurance, because you just, for whatever reason, you're against that, if you will, reconsider. It's not worth it. You can get into this home for much less than this. And imagine if you would have gone into a home 5 years ago when we thought the interest rates were high, right? Or when we thought the real estate prices were going to come down. Well, this same home 5 years ago was $600,000. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit preachy now, so I needed to stop that. Let's keep going. Now, what's cool about this particular tool, which is linked down below as a reminder, is you can run this scenario in milliseconds. Like, I could see how much more I save. In 30 years, I have saved $300,000 on this loan alone. So you get to see how much it cost you over the life of this loan. So here I paid $876,000 in interest. Over here with this FHA loan, I would have paid this amount in the full expense for it, along with this one. Now, of course, if once you factor in your lender fees, it's going to be different. It's not going to add that much to it, but it is going to be a difference. And then if you buy points, also that's going to have an expense. All right, so let's talk about monthly mortgage payment, because that's going to be very important for us to look at, and that's why we spend so much time trying to get our property tax right, because it's going to affect how much we pay. Now, in year one, our monthly mortgage payment is going to be about $64.08 with the conventional 20%, $77.90 for an FHA, $76.34 for a conventional 5%. So you see the differences in monthly expenses. Now, the similarities between the three loans is something I want to call out is right here in the principal and the interest. So much goes to interest and such little goes to principal. So much goes to interest, such little to principal. So much goes to interest and such little into principal. That's the reality of the situation, especially as you're starting your loans. So in the first 20 years of you owning this property, you're actually going to be paying more towards the interest than the principal every single month. And I can prove this to you. We can go over here to the amortization table, which is not going to change. Every single lender is going to give this to you at the date of closing. They're going to send you home with like this long sheet of all these monthly payments, and they're going to keep the principal here and the payment the same. The principal is going to change, and the interest is going to stay both the principal and the interest are going to change. The payment's going to stay the same. But what you're going to see is that the principal eventually starts going high, and then eventually around year 19 and a half or so, you're going to see that the principal is still lower than the interest, but then eventually the principal amount is higher than the interest. This didn't change, but this did. So that's what I was referencing with the first 20 years. You're going to find that you're paying more into the interest every single month than you are towards the principal. So that's why when you're looking at these numbers over here, after the amount of years that we were talking about, so much gets paid into the interest. All right, so property taxes, we spent a good amount of time talking about property taxes. That's what it would be. Homeowners insurance, same thing. That's what that would be. Monthly mortgage insurance, you're going to see the differences here because this is year 1. Around year 11 or so, year 10, year 11, this conventional will go to 0. I'll prove that to you. Let's go to year 11. Mortgage insurance went away. HOA, this probably will go up eventually. And not eventually, it will go up. So you're looking at different types of scenarios based off of future dates. Now, what's pretty cool about this tool as well is that at any point in time, you get to see how much of the home you own. Now, to show you once again the power of interest against us, not in our favor, is when we go to year 20, let's go to year 21. Let's just say, hey, how much of the home will I own in 21 years? Well, in your mind, if you know how math works, you're thinking, there's 9 more years left. It's a 30-year loan. So I'm going to guess that I'm 66% of the way there. So I probably own 66% of the home. No, you would be wrong. So after 21 years, you barely, even with 5% down, you barely own over 50% of your home. So you just crossed that halfway point. The bulk of the payoff, the bulk of your equity, so the green here that you see, gets paid off over here. In these last 9 years, you make up the difference. Why? Well, because it goes back to that amortization table that we just looked at. You're paying more towards the principal on the back half of your loan, or the back third of your loan, than the front 2/3 of your loan. And one thing that I want to call out is, remember, we've been talking about mortgage insurance, and we talked about how conventional, eventually it goes away. Well, on paper, your mortgage insurance goes away in 10 years and 4 months, not factoring in the appreciation of your home. Once you factor in the appreciation of your home as your home continues to go up in value, this 10 years can come down to 9 years, 8 years, 7 years, depending on how fast your home appreciates throughout the years. Now, as a reminder, your FHA does not go away. Just make note of that. One of the cool things that I really like explaining and walking through our clients on is essentially the exit strategy. And the exit strategy for us means, what are your plans? What are your goals? What do you want to do with this property? Oftentimes, just statistically, homeowners will stay in a home for about 8 to 10 years. Those are the averages. So I like to give this breakdown with all of our clients that we work with. So let's just say we follow the statistics, and after 10 years, you're calling us back up and saying, hey, Jaime, please sell this house. I'm ready to go to the next chapter. And I'm going to say, absolutely, I'll be right over, right? So if you're looking to sell your house, make that call today. Our information is down below. But essentially, that's what, these are the conversations that we have. After 10 years, we can make certain assumptions and see how much it cost us to live in this house for about 10 years. So this is where that breakdown happens. And we can also compare it against how much we would have paid in rent. So we do that analysis, right? So let's assume that this home appreciates year over year at 3%, which is reasonable. It's not out of the norm. I mean, we came from a year where from 2021 to 2022, homes appreciated by 20 to 30% in most DFW markets. That was insane. That was just absolutely insane. But anyway, so 3% is not unreasonable. Cost to sell, let's just say it costs us 6.5% to sell this house at the end of the rainbow. Factoring in realtor commissions, factoring in title work, factoring in expenses like fixing up a few things here or there. So let's just say it's going to cost us 6.5% to sell this house later. And then let's also assume that the home insurance is the property taxes are going to continue to rise at 3%, and same thing with homeowners insurance. These are safe assumptions, right? So after these 10 years, again, we're going through this simulation, running these numbers. After 10 years, our cost to live in this house, if we would have done a conventional 5%, would have been almost $600,000. That's what would have been our cost. Our FHA, if we would have done that, it would have cost us $629,000. With a conventional, it would have cost us $474,000 because we didn't borrow as much. So what does that mean? Well, how we got to these numbers is we factored in how much the home appreciated in value across all three loans, how much it would have cost us to sell this house. So we bought it, and we also factor in the cost. And we also factored in our loan cost. So each one of these loans has a different amount affixed to it. Factored in the property taxes that we had to pay, homeowners insurance that we had to pay, and the HOA that we had to pay. That's how we came up with the cost, right? And then we could also compare it to the amount it would have cost us to rent. So if we would have rented this similar property in this area, it would cost us about $5,000 per month with an annual increase of about 3%. It would have cost us our housing expense, our housing cost would have been $692,000 in those same 10 years, right? So if we go 30 years as an example, you see, or 26 years, you see how much it would have cost us in rent versus how much it would have cost us in buying, right? So just want to share that perspective because sometimes we think we get overexcited about our, our entry strategy of like, what's it going to look like for me to get into this house? Oftentimes we don't really understand or have a plan on what our exit strategy would be. Folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you found a value in this video, please make sure to hit that like button. That's going to really help us reach more and more people just like you that would value this type of information. And as always, if we can help you buy or sell in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, by all means, please feel free to reach out to our contact information down below. We would love to support you in any way that we can. Outside of that, see you on the next one. Thank you.